Good day, grade nines. Today we'll be looking at the different cultures that we found in Northern America. So we need your books on page 136, please, and you'll see I've prepared a PowerPoint slide for you where I've summarized the main information, and then at the end there'll be an activity which we'll do as well. So the Northern American culture, previously we discussed all the Southern American cultures that we had. Okay, so today we'll be looking at the Northern American cultures. So during this time, most people lived by hunting and fishing. That's how they lived. They got their food from hunting and fishing, very much different from today, where we can order Uber Eats, or we can go into a restaurant, or we can go to a supermarket and buy our things that's already been packaged for us. During this time in the Northern American culture, farming also played an important role in societies. Again, farming is highlighted there. It shows us how agriculture impacted these kinds of societies. Hopewell people lived along the Mississippi. They were a kind of culture that had existed. Cities began to grow and flourish. To the northeast of Mississippi, the Iroquois arose. Okay, war was dominant in this period, and the Iroquois were strong fighters. So during this period of the Northern American culture, war was dominant. Okay, and these are the different types of cultures that arose, and it tells us that farming and hunting and fishing played an important role in their survival. Then appeared another culture, the Olmec culture, okay, and they existed in Mesoamerica, and they lasted from 1200 BC to 400 BC. This was another culture. And where were they found? Okay, they were the first people to settle in the coastal regions of Central America. Agriculture consisted of raising fields and draining canals. So they did that for agriculture, and they believed in human sacrifice. The architecture was one of the finest. Here we see a picture of some of the architecture, and we see how fine it was. It was brilliant. It was stunning. Then there was another culture. So we learned about the Iroquois culture. And here we have the Olmec culture and what they believed in human sacrifice, and that they were good at architecture. And then we have the Maya civilization. They existed around AD 300 to 900 on the grounds of Yucatan Peninsula. They were known for their architecture and the Mayan calendar. They collapsed due to agricultural failures and natural disasters. So here we also see how important farming and agriculture was. Because if you weren't good in that aspect, your culture would collapse. You wouldn't be able to survive. Even till today, farmers play an important role in our society. They were composed of city-states and ruled by powerful classes. So here we have the Maya civilization, when they started to exist, what they were good at, architecture, and they were also known for the Mayan calendar, and also the reasons for their downfall. Okay, which cities that they were composed of, and their beliefs. It says the Maya civilization beliefs was based on a very spiritual point of view, which was important to their way of life and treatment. So this gives us information on the Mayan civilization, and you will see on page 137 in your textbooks, it explains it more in detail about them. Also, the Mayan civilization, all living things were thought to have divine powers, some good and some evil. As we see in this slide, their beliefs were based on a very spiritual point of view. And because of that, all of them thought that all living things had divine powers. Some were good and some were evil. They practiced human sacrifice, and Maya writing were carved into different materials. And then we also have the Toltec culture, and they came into existence between the 10th and the 12th mid-century. They were a great empire. Their city Tula was enriched by the doings of craftsmen, and Toltec had power on the Yucatan Peninsula. They were great builders, as you can see in the picture here, shows us how well they built, and their government consisted of the military and priesthood. Harvesting and growing crops was a good feature amongst its people. They collapsed when nomadic invaders came to steal turquoise, their most important object for trading. So the Toltec, if we had to go back, they were great builders. They consisted of the military and priesthood, their government. They existed between the 10th and 12th mid-century, and they were enriched by the doings of their craftsmen. And also they were good at harvesting and growing crops, as well as they collapsed when nomadic invaders came to steal turquoise, their most important object for trading. And then lastly, we have the Aztec culture. And they were one of the last cultures, but they also lasted the longest, and they were conquered by the Spanish. But let's read on here for some more important information. They flourished a culture up in the north of Mexico. They were known for their dominant warriors and agriculture, so they had good warriors, and they had a good farming system. They included different ethnic groups of central Mexico. Lands, temples, and buildings were built. Okay, in this paragraph here on page 139 in your textbooks, you will see, which is it's part of your next question, it shows us a bit more about the social structure that existed in the Aztec culture. And yet it says, surrounding each ruler was a council of lords and government officials. When it came to identifying people, diversity was common. Diversity means there were a lot of differences amongst the people. Noble male children were sent to be trained, especially for military services. As they grew older, they could decide specifically that branch of the military they wanted to join. Women who gave birth to boys taught them that home is not where they ought to stay because they were said to be warriors. Girls were taught that home is where they should always remain. That is why a woman's job mostly consisted of house chores and raising children. However, a few were taught to become priestesses. Commoners such as farmers built canals that helped in providing easy travel to local markets. Merchants were active in trading activities. Trading consisted mostly of crafted goods that were made of raw materials. In exchange, they received animal skin, gold, and cacao beans. When the Spanish arrived into the area, they were astonished by the productive markets. Their beliefs were polytheistic. This means they had a many-branched belief. Okay, the falling of the empire was when an earthquake hit Tenochtitlan. In 1519, the chaos and the disorder in the empire helped the Spanish conquer the Aztecs. So this gives us a background and an understanding of the social structure, okay, or the social life that the people of Aztec had. Now we are going to move on to page 140, where you'll see these questions in your textbook. And I'm going to just run through the questions a bit with you so that you can have an understanding of how to complete the activity. So who were the Iroquois? Okay, we can say Iroquois or Iroquois. Who were they? So you will need to go back to page 136 and 137 to find out that information there. And where did the Olmec found their culture? Okay, so where were they established and what did they believe in? What were their beliefs? Number 3, which civilization existed between 300 and 900 AD? Explain the basis of the civilization. When I ask you to explain the basis of the civilization, what was the civilization all about? Okay, what did they believe in? What did they do? What were they good at? What were their practices, etc.? Number 4, what significance did Teltoc and Sentinel have in the life of Toltec people? Okay, so there you need to go and do some reading on page 137 and 138 as well, and 39. And what kind of social life did the Aztec people have? And that too, you will find in that last paragraph on page 139 that we just previously read, which is this one. Yeah, what was the social life that they had? How was the social order or structure set up in their system? Right, thank you, grade 9s. So please complete that activity. Assalamu alaikum.